Silence had never felt so heavy. 847 species filled the grand assembly hall, but not a single voice spoke. Not a whisper, not a breath. The floating lights above dimmed as if even they understood the weight of this moment. High Arbiter Sulma rose from his crystal throne. His body was made of living glass, clear and ancient, and inside him swirled clouds of golden light. He was 3,000 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die. But today his light flickered with something that looked almost like fear. "We are gathered," he said, his voice echoing through the massive chamber, "to discuss Motion 7 Omega Suspend. The Chidak hegemony has requested that we deploy humans in the frontier war." A wave of noise erupted. Clicks, hisses, whistles, and roars filled the hall. Species that had not spoken to each other in centuries turned to their neighbors with shared expressions of shock. Admiral Dross stood from the Chidak section. He was massive, an insected creature with 4 arms and armored plates covering his body. His species was built for war. They feared nothing in the galaxy. Except one thing. "The Ravager swarm has taken the outer colonies," Admiral Dross announced. 12 billion dead in 6 months. Our fleets are failing. Our soldiers are dying. We need the humans." "No," the scream came from a small amphibian creature near the front. Ambassador Renner of the Kelwari Union was shaking so badly that her blue skin had turned pale. You cannot unleash them." "We are losing this war," Admiral Dross replied coldly. "What choice do we have?" "You do not understand what you are asking for," Ambassador Renner's voice cracked. "My grandmother was at Broken Sky. She told me what she saw. She told me what the humans did." The hall went quiet again. High Arbiter Sulma raised one crystalline hand. "Before we vote, the Council will hear testimony. We will remember why Resolution 7 Omega was created. We will remember why humans are forbidden to fight." A small floating creature drifted to the center of the chamber. Recorder Pell was a gas entity, a being made of swirling purple mist contained in a transparent sphere. His kind had perfect memory. They recorded everything. "Beginning historical archive playback," Recorder Pell announced. But before the images could appear, a calm voice spoke from the human section. "May I address?" "The Council." Everyone turned. Speaker Yelena Volkov stood slowly. She was small compared to most species in the room. Her hair was gray, her face lined with age. She had been a rescue worker in the frozen lands of her homeworld. She had been a medic in human wars. She had seen death more times than she could count. And she was smiling, a sad, tired smile. "You are going to show them the old recordings," she said to High Arbiter Sulma. "You are going to remind them of what we are capable of, and I understand why. But I want the Council to know something first." She looked around the massive hall, meeting the eyes of creatures that could crush her with a single limb. "We know what we are," she said softly. "Every human knows. We are born with violence in our blood. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we survived. We became the thing that even our planet learned to fear." She paused. "Resolution 7 Omega is not an insult to us. It is a gift. It helps us stay gentle. It helps us remember that we do not have to be monsters." Admiral Dross made an angry clicking sound. "Pretty words, but the Ravagers do not care about your gentleness. They are eating our colonies alive." "I know," Yelena replied. "And if the Council votes to send us to war, we will go. We will do what we were built to do. But I want everyone in this room to understand the cost, not just to the Ravagers, to us." High Arbiter Sulma nodded slowly. "Your words are noted, Speaker Volkov, but the Council must understand the full truth. They must see what happened at Broken Sky. They must know why this law exists." He turned to Recorder Pell. "Begin the playback." The lights in the chamber dimmed further. A holographic image appeared in the center of the room, showing a peaceful asteroid mining colony. Ships floated lazily around it. Lights twinkled from thousands of windows. 200 years ago, High Arbiter Sulma said, his voice trembling, "this was Colony Broken Sky. 12,000 beings lived here in peace. 47 of them were human. The image flickered. Dark shapes appeared on the edge of the display. Ships that looked like twisted metal insects. Ships that moved wrong, jerking and twitching through space. This was the first contact with the Ravager swarm, the High Arbiter continued. And this was the first time the galaxy learned what humans truly are. Ambassador Rena covered her eyes with her webbed hands. "Let us remember," High Arbiter Sulma whispered. "Let us remember the incident at Broken Sky." The day the Ravagers came, Dr. Lissa was teaching a young Chitak how to read. She was Kelwary, an amphibian creature with soft blue skin and large dark eyes. Her patient was kind. Her voice was gentle. She had worked at Colony Broken Sky for 20 years, and she loved every species that lived there. The first explosion shook the walls. Dr. Lissa grabbed her student and ran into the corridor. Around her, miners and families were screaming, running in every direction. Through the windows, she could see the Ravager ships attaching to the station like parasites. She had never seen creatures like them before. They were insectoid, but wrong somehow. Too many legs, too many mouths. They moved through the corridors like a living flood, killing everything they touched. A Kelwary male ran past her. A Ravager jumped on his back and tore him apart in seconds. Dr. Lissa froze. Her body would not move. This was how she would die. Then she heard the sound. It was not a scream. It was not a cry for help. It was something deeper, something that made her scales rise. A human voice shouting orders. "Get them to the cargo bay. Move, move. I need 3 on the left." Someone grabbed those cutting torches. Foreman Ivan Petrov came around the corner. He was old for a human, his hair gray and his face scarred from decades of mining work. In his hands, he held a plasma cutter meant for slicing through rock. Behind him were more humans, 46 of them. Workers, engineers, cooks, none of them were soldiers. But something had changed in their eyes. "You," Ivan pointed at Dr. Lissa. "Get the civilians to Cargo Bay 7. We will hold them here." "Hold them?" Dr. Lissa's voice was shaking. "There are hundreds of those things." Ivan smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "I know." The humans formed a line across the corridor. They had mining tools, metal pipes, welding equipment. One woman had wrapped chains around her fists. A young man was holding a fire extinguisher like a club. The Ravagers came. Dr. Lissa should have run. She should have taken the civilians and fled, but she could not look away. She watched Ivan Petrov step forward to meet the first Ravager. The creature was twice his size. It slashed at him with claws that could cut through metal. The claw went through Ivan's shoulder. He did not stop. He swung the plasma cutter and took the Ravager's head off. Then he pulled the claw out of his own flesh, blood pouring down his arm, and he laughed. He laughed. The other humans charged. Dr. Lissa had studied many species. She knew about predators and prey. She knew about fight and flight responses. She had read about violence in textbooks. Nothing had prepared her for this. The humans did not fight like any creature she had ever seen. They did not stop when they were wounded. They did not slow down when they were tired. They adapted to the Ravagers' attacks in moments, learning their patterns, exploiting their weaknesses. One human woman took a claw through her leg and kept fighting from the ground. A young man was thrown into a wall so hard that bones cracked, and he stood up and kept swinging his weapon. They communicated without speaking, moving together like a single organism. When one human fell, another stepped into their place. The Ravagers had never faced anything like this. For the first time in their species' history, the Ravagers hesitated. And the humans did not stop. Dr. Lissa finally forced herself to move. She gathered the survivors and led them toward the cargo bay. But she kept looking back, watching the humans push forward into the swarm. 19 hours. That was how long the 47 humans held the corridors of Colony Broken Sky. 19 hours of constant fighting. 19 hours without rest, without food, without stopping. When the rescue ships finally arrived, they found something impossible. Every single Ravager was dead. The corridors were painted with alien blood. And in the middle of it all stood Ivan Petrov, still holding his plasma cutter, still standing despite wounds that should have killed him 3 times over. All 47 humans had survived. Dr. Lisser approached Ivan slowly. His eyes were different now. Empty, hollow. The thing that had filled them during the battle was gone, leaving behind something broken. "Are you all right?" she asked. Ivan looked at his blood-covered hands for a long time. "No," he said quietly. "No, I do not think I am." In the present, Ambassador Rena wiped tears from her eyes. "My grandmother never recovered from what she saw that day," she said to the council. "Not the Ravagers. The Ravagers were monsters, but monsters are predictable. Monsters make sense." She looked at the human section, where Speaker Yelena Volkov sat quietly. The humans were something else, something that could be gentle and loving and kind one moment, and then become something that even nightmares fear. My grandmother spent the rest of her life wondering which one was the real human. High Arbiter Sulma nodded slowly. "And that," he said to the council, "was only the beginning." Chief Scientist Merkel had spent his entire life studying peaceful species. He was Kelwary, like Dr. Lissa, but older and more cautious. For 130 years, he had researched how different creatures communicated, bonded, and built societies together. He believed that understanding led to peace. Then the council asked him to study humans. The holographic recording showed Merkel standing in his laboratory, surrounded by screens filled with data. His blue skin was pale. His large eyes were filled with something between wonder and terror. "I have completed my analysis of the human species," the recording said. "I must warn the council that my findings are deeply disturbing." In the present, the Grand Assembly Hall was completely silent. "Let us begin with their homeworld," Merkel's voice continued. "Earth is classified as a Category 12 Deathworld. For comparison, most intelligent species evolve on Category 2 or 3 worlds. The highest we had recorded before finding humans was Category 7. A holographic image of Earth appeared. It looked beautiful from space, blue and green and white. "Do not let its appearance fool you," Merkel warned. "This planet has been trying to kill its inhabitants for 4 billion years. The gravity is strong enough to crush most species. The atmosphere is filled with a corrosive gas called oxygen. The star it orbits bombards the surface with radiation." The image zoomed in, showing storms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Massive floods destroy entire regions. The ground itself shakes and opens. Mountains explode and cover everything in fire. The weather changes constantly, sometimes freezing, sometimes burning, and the other life forms on this planet are equally dangerous. Predators, parasites, diseases, venomous creatures, everywhere. Admiral Dross leaned forward with interest. His species was considered one of the toughest in the galaxy. They came from a Category 5 world and were proud of it. "How did they survive?" he asked. Merkel's recording seemed to look directly at him. "They became more dangerous than their planet." A holographic human body appeared, rotating slowly. Human bodies are built for violence and survival. Their eyes face forward like predators. Their hands can grip with incredible strength. Their bones actually become stronger when they are broken and heal. Their immune systems fight off attacks constantly, learning and adapting. The image showed a human heart. They have a chemical system that activates during threats. They call it adrenaline. It reduces their pain, increases their strength, and sharpens their focus. It allows them to perform acts that should be physically impossible. More images appeared, humans running, fighting, climbing. But the most terrifying adaptation is their endurance. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They cannot run faster than their prey, so they simply follow it, for hours, for days, until it collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it. Merkel paused. "They do not stop. That is what makes them so dangerous. They simply do not stop." The recording shifted to show human history. Cities rising and falling, wars spanning centuries, technology advancing at impossible speeds. And then there is their psychology, Merkel said. Humans have fought each other constantly throughout their history. They have killed millions of their own kind in conflicts we can barely understand. They developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, and they pointed those weapons at each other. Ambassador Rena made a small sound of distress. Yet here is the paradox, Merkel continued. Humans are also capable of incredible kindness. They create art of stunning beauty. They form deep emotional bonds with other species, sometimes even treating alien creatures as family. They will sacrifice themselves to save complete strangers. The image showed humans helping other humans after disasters, humans caring for sick animals, humans building and creating and loving. They are monsters who taught themselves mercy, Merkel said quietly. They are predators who choose to be gentle. But when that choice is taken away, when they are forced to fight, the gentle part of them goes to sleep. And what remains is something that has been perfected by 4 billion years of constant warfare. The recording paused, and Merkel looked directly into the camera. My recommendation to the Council is simple: never make humans fight. Never force them to become what their planet made them. Because if you do, nothing in this galaxy will be able to stop them. Not the Ravagers, not our combined fleets. Nothing. The recording ended. High Arbiter Sulma let the silence hang for a long moment. Chief Scientist Merkel died 3 years after completing this report, he said. He spent his final years advocating for peaceful relations with humanity. He believed they deserved the chance to evolve beyond their violent nature. He looked at the human section. That is why Resolution 7 Omega was created. Not to insult humans, not to exclude them, but to protect them from becoming the very thing they have been trying to escape for their entire history. Admiral Dross stood up again. History is fascinating, he said coldly. But I have 12 billion dead citizens. Show me what humans can actually do in modern combat. Show me why I should fear them more than I fear the Ravagers. High Arbiter Sulma closed his eyes. Very well, Recorder Pell, display the classified military footage. Recorder Pell floated to the center of the chamber and projected the first video. Incident report, defense of Station Whisper, 37 years ago. The footage showed a small medical station floating near a gas giant. It was meant for treating sick travelers. There were no weapons, no soldiers, just doctors and patients. And 8 humans who had stopped there for fuel. The Ravager ships appeared without warning, 12 vessels carrying over 200 warriors. They wanted the station's medical supplies. A female human voice crackled over the speakers. All non-combat species get to the evacuation pods. We will hold them. Her name was Captain Rosa Delgado. She was a cargo hauler, not a soldier. She had gray in her hair and a bad knee from an old injury. She picked up a metal pipe and walked toward the airlock. The other 7 humans followed her. The Council watched 19 hours compressed into minutes. They saw Rosa break a Ravager's skull with her pipe, then use the dead creature's own claws as weapons when the pipe bent. They saw a human male tackle 3 Ravagers at once, falling down a stairwell and continuing to fight as he fell. They saw humans take wounds that would have killed any other species, and they saw those humans keep fighting anyway. When the evacuation pods launched, 300 patients and staff escaped safely. When rescue ships arrived, all 8 humans were still alive. The station was filled with 200 Ravager corpses. Rosa Delgado was sitting against a wall, covered in blood that was not her own. When the rescue team asked if she needed medical attention, she shook her head. Check the others first, she said. I can wait. The footage ended. Second incident, Recorder Pell announced. The Tunnel Wars 22 years ago. This recording was darker, filmed in emergency lighting. A mining asteroid had been infested with Ravager larvae. The creatures had hatched in the tunnels and killed everyone inside. Everyone except Private First Class Ahmed said. He was not supposed to be there. He was just a supply clerk who had been delivering equipment when the attack happened. He had no combat training. He was 23 years old. The footage was pieced together from security cameras throughout the asteroid. For 6 days, Ahmed moved through 3 kilometers of tunnels, alone, wounded, running out of food and water. He killed every single Ravager larva he found. The Council watched him adapt to the darkness. They watched him set traps using mining equipment. They watched him hunt the creatures that were supposed to be hunting him. When his supplies ran out, he ate the Ravagers. When his water ran out, he built a filter from their internal fluids. When rescue teams finally found him, he was standing in a tunnel filled with dead larvae. His clothes were torn. His body was covered in wounds that had become infected. "Is anyone else here?" he asked. "Does anyone else need help?" The rescue team told him he was the only survivor. Ahmed sat down slowly and started to cry. "Third incident," Recorder Pell said. "The siege of New Growth 15 years ago." The chamber went very quiet. New Growth was a colony for raising young. Children from 12 different species lived there, cared for by specialists who helped them grow and learn. It was supposed to be the safest place in the sector. Dr. Hannah Lindqvist was a xenobiologist who studied how different species developed. She had never held a weapon in her life. She had written papers about the beauty of cooperation between species. She was known for her gentle voice and endless patience with the children. When the Ravagers came, there were 43 children in her nursery. The footage showed her standing at the nursery door. Behind her, children of every shape and size huddled together, crying. A Ravager appeared in the hallway. Hannah picked up a gardening tool. It was meant for trimming plants. "You will not touch them," she said. The Ravager charged. The Council watched Hannah Lindqvist, pacifist scientist, mother of no children and mother of all children, kill 17 Ravagers with a gardening tool and her bare hands. She did not stop until the rescue teams arrived. When they found her, she was sitting in the middle of the nursery, covered in Ravager blood. A small Kelwary infant was sleeping in her arms. She was singing a soft song in her human language. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were empty, but her voice was gentle. The footage ended. The Grand Assembly Hall was silent for a long time. High Arbiter Sulma rose slowly. "Do you understand now?" he asked the Council. "Do you see why Resolution 7 Omega exists?" Admiral Dross said nothing. "Humans are not forbidden to fight because we fear what they will do to our enemies," the High Arbiter continued. "They are forbidden to fight because we fear what fighting does to them. Every battle takes something from them. Every kill leaves a scar on their souls. They become monsters to protect others, and then they have to live with being monsters." He looked at the human section, where Speaker Yelena Volkov sat with her head bowed. "We made this law to protect them from themselves, to give them a chance to stay gentle, to honor the sacrifice of every human who has ever had to become something terrible so that others could live." His crystalline body flickered with sad, golden light. "And now you ask us to take that protection away." Speaker Yelena Volkov stood slowly, her joints aching from too many years of hard work. 800 species watched her rise, creatures of crystal and gas, of chitin and scale, of forms she could barely understand. All of them afraid of her. "May I speak?" she asked. High Arbiter Sulma nodded. Yelena walked to the center of the chamber. She was small here, surrounded by beings that towered over her, but she did not feel small. She felt tired. "You have shown the Council what we can do," she said. "Now let me tell you what it costs." She took a deep breath. "I was born in Siberia. Do you know this place? It is a frozen land on Earth where winter lasts for months and temperatures drop so low that exposed skin dies in minutes. My people survived there for thousands of years. We learned that the cold does not care about your pain, It does not care about your fear. It only cares if you keep moving." She paused. "When I was young, a building collapsed in my village. 40 people trapped under the ice and stone. I was part of the rescue team. We dug for 3 days without stopping. My hands bled. My body screamed. But I kept digging because there were people under that rubble who needed me." Her voice remained calm, steady. "We saved 27 people. 13 died before we could reach them. I can still see their faces when I close my eyes." The chamber was completely silent. "After that, I became a medic. I served in human conflicts that you will never understand. I saw what we do to each other. I saw friends become monsters and monsters become friends. I held dying soldiers who asked me why, and I could never give them an answer." She looked at Admiral Dross. "You want to know what humans are? We are the species that invented both torture and hospitals. We created weapons that could destroy our entire planet, and we created charities that feed billions. We write poetry about love while building machines of war. We are everything all at once, always fighting with ourselves." She turned to face the entire council. "Every human carries a war inside them. Every single day we wake up and choose peace. We choose to be gentle. We choose to help instead of hurt. We choose to build instead of destroy. That choice is the most important thing we have ever done as a species." Her voice grew softer. "Resolution 7 Omega helps us make that choice. When the galaxy tells us that we do not have to fight, when you give us permission to stay gentle, you are giving us the greatest gift possible. You are helping us become the species we want to be, instead of the species our planet made us." Ambassador Rena was crying openly now. Several other delegates had bowed their heads. "I have seen what happens to humans who are forced to fight," Yelena continued. "The ones who survive, I mean, their bodies heal. Our bodies always heal, but something inside them breaks. They have nightmares for the rest of their lives. They flinch at loud sounds. They cannot hold their children without remembering the things they have done." She looked at her own hands. "We call it the darkness. Every human knows it is there. Waiting inside us. The violence, the rage, the thing that made us survive a planet that should have killed us. We spend our entire lives learning to control it, to push it down, to keep it locked away." Her hands were shaking now. "And when we fight, we let it out. We open the door and let the darkness take over because that is the only way to survive. But putting it back is not easy. Some of us never manage it. Some of us spend years trying to find ourselves again after a single battle." She looked at Admiral Dross one final time. "You think you want us to fight the Ravagers. You think we are the weapon that will save your colonies. And maybe you are right. Maybe we will win your war for you. But you need to understand what you are asking. You are not asking for soldiers. You are asking us to sacrifice something we can never get back." She returned to her seat. "I will not beg you to keep the law. If the Council votes to send us to war, we will go. We will do what we were built to do, and we will hate every moment of it. But when it is over, do not expect us to be the same species you knew before. Wars change everyone. Human wars change humans most of all." High Arbiter Sulma let the silence stretch. Admiral Dross stood. "The Ravagers have taken 12 colonies in 6 months. They will reach the core worlds within a year. If we do not stop them, there will be no galaxy left to protect. There will be no gentle species left to care about human feelings." He looked around the chamber. "I understand the cost. I respect the humans for what they have endured. But we have no choice. I call for an immediate vote on Motion 7 Omega suspend." The chamber erupted in noise. High Arbiter Sulma raised his crystalline hands for silence. "Very well," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "We will vote." The votes came one by one. Recorder Pell floated above the chamber, counting silently as each species made their decision. Some voted quickly, their choice already made before the session began. Others hesitated, torn between fear of the Ravagers and fear of what they were about to unleash. Ambassador Rena voted no, tears still streaming down her blue skin. Admiral Dross voted yes, his armored body rigid with determination. High Arbiter Sulma voted last. His crystalline form flickered between gold and gray as he struggled with the decision. Finally, he spoke. Yes. The final count appeared in glowing letters above the chamber. 612 votes to suspend Resolution 7 Omega. 235 votes against. The law that had protected humans from themselves for 200 years was lifted. Speaker Yelena Volkov stood. Her face showed no emotion. She had expected this outcome. The human delegation accepts the Council's decision, she said. We will fight. She paused. But I have one request. When this is over, the Council must witness what we have done. You must see the full cost of your decision, not just the victory if there is one, everything. High Arbiter Sulma nodded slowly, agreed. 3 months passed. The human fleets arrived at the frontier. They were not large. Humanity had never built massive armadas like other species. They did not need to. The first battle lasted 6 hours. Human ships moved through the Ravager swarm like dancers, always in motion, never where the enemy expected them to be. When the Ravagers tried to board, they found humans waiting for them with cold eyes and steady hands. The Ravagers lost 40 ships. The humans lost 2. Word spread through the galaxy. The humans were coming. Colony after colony was freed. The Ravagers tried to adapt to change their tactics, but the humans adapted faster. They learned from every battle. They shared information instantly. They never made the same mistake twice. And they never stopped. 6 months after Resolution 7 Omega was suspended, the human fleets reached the Ravager homeworld. No species had ever found it before. The Ravagers had hidden it well, protected it with everything they had. It fell in 72 hours. High Arbiter Sulma traveled to the homeworld after the battle ended. He had to see for himself. The destruction was overwhelming. Ravager cities burned. Their great hives had been torn open. Their warriors lay dead in numbers that could not be counted. But that was not what stopped him. He found Speaker Yelena Volkov in what had been a Ravager nursery. The walls were scorched. The air smelled of death. And Yelena was sitting on the ground, surrounded by young Ravagers, children, the survivors of the final battle. She was teaching them a human game. You throw the ball like this, she said, her voice gentle, and then you catch it. See, it is not hard. A young Ravager tried to copy her movements. Its claws were not meant for catching, but it tried anyway. Yelena smiled and clapped her hands. Good, very good, you are learning fast. High Arbiter Sulma stood frozen in the doorway. His crystalline mind could not process what he was seeing. How, he finally asked, how do you do this? Hours ago you were killing their parents. Now you are playing with their children. How do you stop? Yelena looked up at him. Her hands were shaking. There were dark circles under her eyes. She looked older than she had 3 months ago. We practiced for 10,000 years, she said quietly. We are still learning. She turned back to the children. The war is over. We won. And now we have a choice. We can keep being the monsters your planet made us, or we can be something better. We always have that choice. One of the young Ravagers made a sound that might have been laughter as it finally caught the ball. Yelena's smile grew wider, but her eyes remained sad. 1 year later, the Grand Assembly Hall was full again. High Arbiter Sulma stood before the Council, his golden light steady and strong. Motion to reinstate Resolution 7 Omega, he announced, brought forward by the human delegation. Speaker Yelena Volkov rose. We have done what you asked, she said. The Ravagers are defeated. Their surviving population has been relocated to protected worlds where they can rebuild peacefully. The frontier is safe. She took a deep breath. Now we ask you to put the law back. We have done enough. Our people need time to heal. We need to remember how to be gentle again. The vote was unanimous. 847 species agreed without a single objection. Resolution 7 Omega was reinstated. Recorder Pell made the final entry in the official record. The humans requested that their protection be restored. They said they had done enough killing. They said they needed time to remember how to be kind. The council granted their request without debate. After everything we witnessed, after everything they sacrificed, we could not deny them this one thing. Resolution 7 Omega stands once more. Humans are forbidden to fight, not because we fear them, but because they asked us to help them stay human. And we owe them that much. We owe them everything. The lights in the Grand Assembly Hall brightened as the session ended. And somewhere in the galaxy, on a small transport ship heading home, Yelena Volkov sat alone in her cabin and finally allowed herself to cry. The war was over. Now the healing could begin.